Welcome back to KC Cares, Kansas City's window on the nonprofit community and the people they serve. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis. Bobby's away on assignment. We're in a great new year. We're in a new decade. That seems really daunting to say, but my hope is that it's a good decade for everybody concerned, especially in the nonprofit arena, which is out there trying to make life better for everybody in whatever way that they can. And we have an organization that's new to KC Cares. We're delighted to have it. And what I really love about this group is that they are truly grassroots and had a common issue that they gathered around, and they're making change. And that is KC Infertility. We have Meredith Suarez, who's the incoming president. We have all presidents today. It's very exciting. And Amy Carlson, who's vice president. Yep. So we have almost the whole cabinet right here in this room. Welcome. We're so glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about KC Infertility. Do I have that correct? I was just looking at my notes going, where's a KC Fertility? And we should talk about those two terms.
Yes, very different terms.
Right. Right. So please.
So we are Kansas City Infertility. It was founded by 4 women that wanted to provide a network of support for individuals that are battling infertility like themselves. And so today, our mission is to improve the community, or to provide community, improve education, and also provide support to those that are striving to build their families.
How did you guys get involved in this issue? If you don't mind, it's got to be a personal connection.
Yes, sure. I think we've all been personally impacted by family building and a struggle to do that. I first got connected, I think it was a couple years ago. My husband and I have a son that we have through birth. And it wasn't until we started trying to have a second child that we were struggling with infertility. And there is so much hopelessness and despair and isolation that's associated with infertility, and it's hard to know where to reach out for support. So I found this organization just through a Google search, and attended the family building conference and attended the support group, and I really found the kind of the tribe, if you will, of women that I was looking for who would support me and my husband on our family building journey.
Thank you for sharing that, Meredith. Amy, how did you connect?
Yeah, so I found KC Infertility a little bit different time point. I was struggling through infertility to conceive my daughter, and I struggled for 3 years alone because infertility is a taboo topic. A lot of people don't realize that it affects as many as 1 in 8 couples. And when I finally was pregnant and had my daughter, I wanted to give back to the community and help other women not go through it alone and know there was support. So I found our Path to Parenthood 5K and founded a team and raised funds so we can provide. One thing we should mention, Kansas City Infertility does provide family building grants. And last year we provided $18,000 worth of grants that go to other couples to help build their families. And that's what I wanted to be a part of. And that Path to Parenthood 5K that we have this year on September 19th raises funds to provide money for those families through those grants.
How do people get you to have these grants, and what can they be used for?
So our family building grants can be used for fertility treatments. They can be used for adoption expenses, any action that you would take to build your family. And the reason why we do that, and the bulk of our funds that we raise goes to support families doing that, is because there's an immense cost associated with family building when it doesn't happen the old-fashioned way. And so if you're going through fertility treatment, that can be thousands of dollars per cycle. Adoption costs are expensive as well, and they're all very time-consuming.
I find it really interesting that there are all these children available for adoption and /foster, which I know is a different conversation, but they make it so expensive. Why is it so expensive? What is that something that you all look into? I'm probably asking a question that's not fair, but it just seems like, these are children already born. So
Yeah, I don't know why it's so costly.
All
Or
right,
why the medical
Yeah.
treatments are so costly for that matter.
Right.
No one should have to go broke trying to build their family.
Right. Or being a parent to children who need parents. It's
Exactly.
all right. So you adoption agencies, you need to fill out that guest application so we can talk about that side of it. But back to infertility, I was just Googling to educate myself as much as anything that apparently out of 100 couples in the U.S., 12 to 13 have trouble becoming pregnant. And about 10 in 100 between the ages of 15 and 44 have difficulty becoming pregnant or staying pregnant. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control. It has to be very lonely. And you said there's so much stigma. So how do you work around that stigma?
Well, it's hard, because so many individuals want to provide support or advice. And if you've never gone through infertility, what might be very well-intentioned could come off negatively to the individual that's battling infertility. For example, things we hear all the time like, just relax, it will happen, right? And so I think ways to help individuals going through infertility or to know more about it is, and to feel that you're not alone, is we have a monthly support group. It meets the second Monday of every month. And so it's a community of women that get it, that you can connect with and understand. For individuals that maybe know someone battling infertility, feel free to check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page.
What are those addresses?
Yeah, so the Facebook page is Kansas City Infertility and Instagram at KC Infertility. And we sometimes share articles that teach you what are appropriate things to say to someone battling fertility. How can you help someone that's gone through recurrent loss, or maybe this is their first loss? What are some support that these individuals might need? And those are other ways to support this one, whether you're actively going through infertility or maybe know somebody.
Where do the support groups meet?
You can go to our website at kcinfertility.org to find out more information. We protect that information for privacy concerns,
Sure.
but it is in the Brookside area.
Okay.
We also have a family building conference. I was kind of
wanted
introduced
to know
more
about
to
that.
the organization that way. That's coming up on April 11th at Johnson County Community College. And that's a place where people will gather. It's a great place to meet people who, as Amy said, who get it. Community of people that you don't need to explain anything to. There is a panel discussion there. Of families telling their stories about how they built their families. We do raffle prizes. There's also guest speakers talking about various different topics like fertility treatment options, adoption resources, just anything related to family building you can find there.
And how do people register and what's the charge? Give us all the details. So if there are folks out there who would like to attend.
I believe it's $10, right, this year, and it includes lunch. And you can go to our website at kcinfertility.org to learn more.
And that's April 11th.
April 11th at Johnson County Community College.
Since you both have been through the journey, what advice would you give to someone who may be embarking on it and dealing with the medical community and what to look for when you're looking for that specialist, for example?
I think everyone probably seeks something different in a specialist. I, for one hand, wanted a specialist that was going to do a little bit of hand-holding, that was going to let me cry in the office, was going to let me mourn this journey a little bit, but then also inspire me to not give up. And that's what I looked for in a medical community, and I had a whole team of doctors and nurse practitioners, physician assistants, the phlebotomists. Everyone was a part of this journey for me, and they prayed with me. They celebrated, the small wins. And I think that's one thing you have to remember when you're going through infertility is to celebrate the small wins, whether it's egg growth, whether it is a pregnancy before loss, or just anything that this disease can be all-encompassing. But one thing that I was always told is it doesn't last forever. And whether you build your family through adoption, or whether you conceive through treatment, or whether maybe that you decide that you're not going to build your family after this journey, whatever your endpoint is, this is a small blip in time, but the lessons you're going to learn on this journey are going to last you a lifetime. And that's one thing I try to hold close to my heart throughout my entire journey to get me through it, because there are low lows, but there also can be some high highs. And one of the highs is meeting other women going through it and having that sisterhood and that friendship that will last a lifetime as well.
Thank you for sharing that, Amy. Meredith, how about you? Anything that you would share as you've lived through this process?
Yeah. So our family is looking to grow through adoption. And so one of the things that was important to us was really having people who would support, looking for people who had adopted in the past and kind of creating a community around adoption support, and people who would connect us to resources and help there's a lot of legal issues related to adoption. And so people who would help kind of dispel any myths, but also help us be prepared and understand how to complete all the paperwork and take all the necessary steps. I also think that just if you have a friend or a family member who's going through infertility, the best thing that you can do is to be a good listener and just be there for that person. Offering well-intentioned but often unhelpful advice, or comparing it to your own life or somebody that you know that doesn't have anything to do with that person isn't helpful. And so just being the one to reach out and not make the topic taboo, and be open to sharing. And it's okay to say, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to be supportive, but I'm here for you. Help me to be able to support you is really helpful in whatever path you choose.
Well, it's interesting when you go out to dinner with or have drinks with friends, whatever social situation you're in, the number of things that are not taboo, and then yet something like this, which seems to be, not particularly controversial, trying to involve a family, can be such an uncomfortable conversation to have. How do you all pull husbands or male partners into this conversation? Because, not to coin a techie phrase, but it takes two to tango. So how do you all work at all with that, or is it primarily focused on the female?
Well, husbands are more than welcome to attend the family building conference as well. And there are some support groups and resources for husbands as well. It hasn't primarily been husbands at every support group meeting, but I know that they are open to it too. And there are other support groups too out there in the Kansas City area that we can help connect you to that have husbands come as well. And I think that is what also makes it a little bit taboo to some people, is that it's not always just the female. It could be the male counterpart too that causes the infertility. But regardless, you have to be a partnership. It is a team effort, and you're going to go through this together, no matter quote unquote whose fault it is.
Right.
It is a partnership, and like you said, it takes two to build the family. And luckily, I had a husband that was as much of a partner and team player when it was, me that was the cause of the infertility, but he was still at every appointment, and he's a police officer. And so he'd come off midnight shift and be at a 7:30 appointment with me. And I needed that, right?
Yay, hubby.
And I remember one time there was some judgy looks in one of the doctor's office because he was falling asleep as we were waiting for the appointment. I was like, but you have no idea what he's going through to be here for me. And I think that's just what you have to remember, because we know this is emotional, physical, and can also do financial strains on a relationship, on yourself. And that's why we want to have this support, so it doesn't affect your marriage. It doesn't affect your life outside of this or forever, and that it is something we can help you with. And so,
As you both went through, building your family and trying to have children naturally, et cetera, was this anything that was discussed with your OBGYN or whatever, your birth plan, midwife, whatever, at some point? Is that ever because you're significantly younger than me, I just wondered, is that ever part of that conversation today? I mean, do those providers talk openly about, well, sometimes it is tough and here are resources or whatever?
I think, at least in my experience, it was something that was discussed, but my OBGYN at the time said, you just have to start trying, and there can be things that can go wrong, but a lot of times things go right. And so let's just, go from that perspective. But I think there is a kind of an emphasis on the medical community of, time running out, and that just puts more pressure on women when you're already feeling the burn, when you can't make this happen in the time frame that you decided you wanted as a family or as a couple. It can be even more stressful to talk about timelines and expectations before anything's occurred.
That's where I would think your support group is great, because you're sitting with people who are hearing that same message, possibly. You're all volunteer. How does that work with your nonprofit? I'm so impressed.
Well, it's definitely a balancing act, as we have full-time careers and we have this volunteer project as well. But I think the reason why it's so successful is because everyone that's a part of this organization is just fueled by passion, because they're either still going through their journey or maybe they have built their family to their goal and they want to give back. And I think that's what keeps this organization going and helps us provide those financial means for other couples so then they can get to that point too. So whether you're paid or not, we're here for these women that are battling infertility.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I feel it's a part of my duty as a member of my community that I care about to connect other women to the resources that are available. And I can safely say that if it wasn't for this organization, I wouldn't be where I am in my family building journey. The people that I met, the resources that I connected to, the support that I received, even just in through Facebook groups and, an online community of support was critical to our grieving process of this not happening in the timeline that we wanted it to, and then being able to move on with a plan going forward.
So check out your website one more time,
www.kcinfertility.org.
Thank you both for sharing such a personal story, and thank you for being there for other families.
Thank you for having us.
And we want to thank you for listening to KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit digital resource. We're produced by Charitable Communications, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. KC Cares, you want to be a guest? Check us out on our website. Podcasts are available at kccaresonline.org. And spread the love. Find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter at KC Cares Online. Thank you for listening to KC Cares on ESPN 1510 AM and 94.5 FM.
ESPN Kansas City is KCTE Independence and K233DM Raytown, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM.